Frank hadn't slept through the night in over 10 years. It didn't matter whether he drank one glass of water or none at all. By 1 a.m., his eyes would open, then again at 3:15. And sometimes, one final time just before dawn, he'd shuffle to the bathroom in silence, not fully awake, but not resting either. It feels like my nights are broken into pieces, he told me. And by morning, I'm already tired before the day begins. Frank was 72. Not ill, not weak, just worn down by the slow, steady erosion of sleep. He'd tried everything, cutting back water, skipping his evening tea, even sleeping pills, which left him groggy and confused. But the nightly pattern never changed. The urge, the walk, the frustration. He told himself, this is just what getting old feels like. But I told him something different. Maybe it's not your age. Maybe it's your bladder's timing. And maybe, just maybe, your body is still capable of deep, uninterrupted sleep if we give it the chance. What happened next changed everything. Not just his nights, but his energy, his mood, even the way he greeted his wife in the morning. And the key wasn't what he drank. It was when the hidden clock inside your body. Many older adults wake up once, twice, even 3 times a night to urinate. And most accept it as normal. But the truth is, your body isn't trying to annoy you. It's simply responding to a change in hormones, sensitivity, and rhythm that comes with age. Let me explain. After the age of 60, our bodies naturally produce less vasopressin, a hormone that signals the kidneys to slow down urine production during sleep. When vasopressin drops, the kidneys don't get the message to rest. They keep filtering fluids at a daytime pace, even when the rest of the body wants to shut down. And so, even if you drink the same amount of water as before, your bladder fills up faster at night. Not because you're broken, but because your internal clock has shifted. It's like the plumbing is fine, I told Frank, but the faucet forgot to turn off at night. Why the urge hits so early in your younger years? Your bladder could comfortably hold 400 to 500 milliliters, about 2 full glasses, before signaling the need to go. But as we age, that sensitivity changes. Now, even 150 milliliters, a half glass, can trigger an urge that feels urgent. Worse, the bladder nerves become overly cautious. If they learn that even a little means get up, they'll keep sending that message, again and again. Frank told me he used to go to the bathroom just in case, before bed, even when he didn't feel the need. And that habit, repeated for years, was training his bladder to panic. It wasn't full, but it felt full, and his brain, caught in the pattern, couldn't rest. The first shift, relearning the signals. The first thing I asked Frank to do was stop forcing himself to urinate before bed when he didn't truly feel the urge. Instead, I taught him a short routine. Sit quietly 15 minutes before sleep. One hand on his chest, one on his belly. Breathe in through the nose, slowly out through the mouth. No lights, no screens, just quiet presence. This helped his nervous system settle and stop the bladder from being the loudest voice in the room. The first night, I still woke up twice, he told me, but the second night, I didn't open my eyes until the sun came in. The second shift, understanding timing. The next mistake Frank had been making was drinking most of his water after 6 o'clock p.m. He would forget to hydrate during the day, then try to catch up with tea at dinner and a glass or two before bed. But here's the problem. After 6 p.m., your kidneys begin to wind down. But when you flood them with fluid, they're forced to keep working all night. That means more urine, more pressure, more signals to the bladder. So we changed his hydration schedule. 70% of water before 200 p.m., 20% between 200 and 4 p.m. Only small sips after 6 p.m. No more than 100, 150 ml in total. A small change, a big result. By the end of the first week, Frank was waking only once per night. By week 2, he was sleeping 6 hours straight, without pills, without struggle. My wife says I look younger, he joked, and I feel less foggy in the morning. Even my knees don't ache as much. That's the power of restoring your rhythm, not forcing, not fixing, just remembering how your body wants to work when you stop interrupting it. In the next part of this story, I'll show you how evening teas, soups, and healthy habits like ginger milk may be quietly stealing your rest, and what to do instead. It's not about giving up comfort. It's about shifting it just a little earlier so your nights belong to sleep again. If you've ever felt like your nights are broken into pieces, I invite you to stay with me, because you may be just 1 or 2 small adjustments away from peace. After just 2 weeks of changing when he drank water, Frank was sleeping better than he had in years. Not perfect, but better. 6 hours without waking was something he hadn't experienced in over a decade. His mornings were clearer. His wife noticed he smiled more. Even his balance while walking improved. But then, something strange happened. "Doc," he told me, "I didn't drink anything after 6:30 last night. No water, no tea. But I still woke up twice. I don't get it." So we looked deeper. And what we found surprised even him. Liquids that don't look like liquids. Frank wasn't drinking water in the evening, but he was sipping on a bowl of clear vegetable soup and enjoying a mug of warm turmeric milk at 8:30 p.m. and finishing his dinner with a plate of cucumber tomato salad. All of these, he thought, were light, healthy, and harmless. What he didn't realize was this. The bladder doesn't care what the fluid looks like. Water is water. Whether it comes from a glass, a bowl, or a slice of fruit. His soup, salad, and milk were quietly adding 400 to 500 milliliters of fluid to his evening intake. No wonder his bladder was still calling in the middle of the night. The hidden impact of comfort foods. We talked through it gently. I didn't want Frank to give up the things that brought him comfort, only to shift when he enjoyed them. His golden milk, perfect for 5:30 p.m., not 9 o'clock. His soup, lovely with lunch or early dinner. The salad, great, but better move to midday. And then there were his just a few bites of watermelon and a slice of orange and a small glass of buttermilk. I thought those were my healthy choices, he said. Now I realize they were why I kept waking up. The salty trap. Another surprise was salt. Frank had a habit, common among many elders, of finishing dinner with something tangy or crunchy, a little pickle, a fried papad, a heavily spiced curry. But salty foods trigger thirst, and that thirst leads to water or tea after dinner. I didn't even notice it, Frank told me. But every time I had pickle, I felt dry an hour later and ended up sipping something before bed. That something was undoing all the progress he had made. So we made one more shift. Lower salt in the evening, no pickles after sunset, and lighter spices that didn't leave the tongue desperate for the fluid. The power of timing, not deprivation. I never asked Frank to give anything up. He still enjoyed his warm milk, still had soup, salads, fruits, spices, but we moved them to earlier. By giving his body time to process fluids before bed, we let the kidneys finish their work before sleep began. It's like my body isn't scrambling at night anymore, Frank told me. I feel prepared, like sleep can actually happen. Small tweaks, big difference. Within 10 days of making these timing changes, Frank no longer woke up before 4 a.m. He slept 5 to 6 hours straight most nights, and for the first time in years, he stopped needing naps during the day. The best part, he said, I wake up and don't dread the day anymore. That's what healing looks like. Not perfection, but progress, measured in peace. In the next part of this story, I'll show you the non-drinking habits that matter even more. The sleep position that eases bladder pressure, a short breathing practice to calm false signals, and why early morning leg movement can help reduce nighttime trips to the bathroom. If your bladder is still calling in the middle of the night, even after changing your fluids, what comes next might be the piece you've been missing. Stay with me. We're just getting to the heart of it. By his 4th week of making changes, Frank's nights had transformed. He still woke occasionally, but instead of 3 or 4 times, it was once, sometimes not at all, and he always fell back asleep. I feel like I'm living in a different body, he told me. But I haven't added anything. I've just shifted. That shift wasn't just about fluids. It was about movement, position, breath. Small changes that let the body remember how to rest. Let me show you what made the biggest difference next. Morning movement, draining the legs. As we age, our circulation slows. During the day, fluid tends to pool in the legs, even if we don't notice it. But when we lie down at night, that fluid returns to the core, increasing urine production right when we're trying to sleep. Doc, I always thought I was sleeping too light, Frank said. Turns out my legs were sending water back to my bladder. So I had him start simple. 10 minutes of walking after sunrise, light stretching while standing, and seated ankle rolls during TV time. These small movements helped his lymphatic system release stored fluid early, not late. By the end of the week, he noticed something surprising. I didn't need to pee at 1 a.m. anymore, and my feet weren't as puffy in the evening. The sleep position that changed everything. Most people sleep on their backs, but this can put pressure on the lower abdomen and on the bladder. For people over 60, sleeping on the left side with a pillow between the knees can reduce bladder irritation and improve digestion. Frank tried it. I didn't think it would matter, he said, but I started sleeping deeper. My stomach felt better, and the urge to go wasn't as sharp. It's a simple shift, but for many it reduces those false alarms from the bladder, especially after midnight. Nightwear and room temperature. Frank grew up in a home where warmth was comfort, so even in summer he wore thick pajamas and used a heavy quilt. But as he aged, his body's ability to regulate temperature had changed. I'd sweat then feel thirsty, he said. Then I'd drink water without thinking. Just a few sips, but enough to wake me up later. We made the switch. Light cotton clothes, a thinner blanket, and keeping the room cool and airy. The result? I sleep calmer, he told me, and I don't wake up with that dry, scratchy feeling. Breath before bed. The nervous system reset. Perhaps the most powerful change came not from the bladder, but from the nervous system. Many older adults go to bed tensed, even if they don't realize it. Their mind races, their chest is tight, and their body stays in a low-grade alert state. Frank admitted he often lay in bed replaying worries. So I taught him a 5-minute breath practice. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 2. Exhale slowly for 6. Repeat for 5 minutes with the lights off. After 1 week, he said, I fall asleep faster. My thoughts settle, and if I wake, I can fall back asleep. It wasn't about perfection. It was about giving the body permission to rest, to pause, to soften, putting it all together. Frank's progress didn't come from one change. It came from layering gentle shifts over time, drinking earlier, eating differently, moving his body in the morning, sleeping on his side, wearing lighter clothes, and breathing with intention. None of these required medication. None were expensive. But together, they restored something he thought was gone for good. I don't dread the night anymore, Frank told me. I look forward to it, to quiet, to sleep, to waking up with energy. That, to me, is healing. Not the absence of problems, but the return of peace. In the next part of Frank's story, we'll explore something even deeper. Because when the sleep returned, something else came with it. Laughter at breakfast. Conversations that weren't foggy. A renewed connection with his partner and the quiet confidence of being present again. If you've ever felt like you're fading away, stay with me. Because what comes next isn't just about the bladder. It's about coming back to life. Frank didn't just sleep better, he lived better. The change was subtle at first. A little more energy in the morning, less irritation in the late afternoon. But then came the deeper shifts, the ones that don't show up in lab tests or blood pressure charts. Doc, he said one day, I started laughing again. It happened over breakfast. His wife said something silly. And for the first time in years, he didn't just smile politely. He actually laughed, loud, freely. She looked at me like I'd come home, he said. And honestly, I think I had. The silent cost of broken sleep. Most people don't talk about it, but when you wake up 3 times a night, every night, something inside begins to erode. The light in your eyes dulls. Conversations feel like effort. Meals become functional instead of joyful. And even with people you love, you feel distant. Frank hadn't realized how deeply the exhaustion had burrowed into his personality until it started to lift. It's like I was underwater for years, he said. Now I'm breathing again. This is the power of rest, not just for your body, but for your relationships, your memory, your spirit. Small wins that meant the world. Frank shared stories he hadn't told anyone, not because he was hiding them, but because he finally had the clarity to recall them. He started helping with breakfast again, joined his wife on short evening walks, replied to texts, returned phone calls, and slowly, quietly, came back to himself. I forgot what it felt like to have a full morning, he said. Not rushing, not recovering, just living. The return of intimacy. One morning, Frank looked hesitant. Can I ask you something? Private, he said. I nodded. We haven't been close in a long time. Not because we don't love each other, but because everything just felt off. He wasn't talking about performance. He was talking about presence, feeling emotionally open, physically safe, not irritated, not anxious, not half asleep. With his rest restored, his connection followed. He didn't need to force intimacy. It came back naturally on its own rhythm. We held hands while watching a movie, Vinny told me. That hadn't happened in years, but it felt normal, easy. This is what healing looks like. Not overnight, not dramatic, but steady, gentle, honest. Healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like a man reading the newspaper without nodding off. Like a couple cooking together without snapping at each other. Like a morning that starts with gratitude instead of frustration. I didn't get younger, Frank said, but I feel more here than I did 10 years ago. In the final part of this story, I'll share what Frank told me at our last appointment and the one message he wanted every older adult to hear. It's not about drinking less. It's not about being perfect. It's about trusting that your body, no matter your age, still wants to help you feel alive. And all it may need is a little help at the right time. Frank's final visit was quiet. He didn't need anything. His sleep had stabilized. He felt grounded, rested, present. But he wanted to say something he'd been thinking about for weeks. Doc, he said, I used to think I was falling apart. Now I realize I was just exhausted. And no one told me that was something I could heal. He wasn't angry. He wasn't bitter. Just relieved. Like a man who had been carrying weight he didn't know could be set down. The message he wanted to share. Frank asked me a favor. If you ever share my story on his side, please tell people they're not weak for waking up at night. They're not lazy. They're not broken. They're just tired, and it's not their fault. He paused. Most of us were never taught how to care for an older body. We just assumed everything had to get worse. But it doesn't. Not always. The truth most elders never hear. You can be 60, 70, 80 years old and still be capable of restoration, of sleep that renews, of mornings that feel clear, of relationships that grow deeper, of days that don't feel like survival. You don't need to chase youth. You don't need to perform. You just need to know that your body still listens to kindness and that a few gentle changes made patiently can bring everything back in tune. If you're reading this and you felt seen by Frank's story, if your nights are restless, if your mornings are dull, if you've quietly told yourself this is just how it is now, please hear this. It doesn't have to be. You're not a problem to be fixed. You're a person to be supported, and your body is not done helping you feel alive. One small step. Start with one change. Drink most of your water before 4 p.m. Sit quietly before bed. Breathe. Skip the late-night tea just once. Try sleeping on your side. Don't wait for perfect. Just begin. And if Frank's story gave you even a little hope, then hold on to that. Because it means something inside you still wants to try. And that's where all healing begins. Thank you for staying with me. Until next time, rest well. You've earned it.